Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff Cooper's Ghost. Just a couple of weeks ago, my dad passed away. And my dad was something else. I'll tell you what. And I'm going to tell you what. My dad was born in 1950 in Chicago. And my grandma, who is still alive today at 94, would raise him and his younger brother by herself after his father left him and his brother at a young age. And my dad was a serious Renaissance man. He had a lot of hobbies, and when he got into something, he went all the way into it. He had a bachelor's in photography, and one of his earliest jobs was professional wedding photography. And we still have a lot of his camera and developing equipment. I remember him showing me how to prepare and develop a roll of film when we went over the photography merit badge in Cub Scouts. He was also a professional auto mechanic, and when he was into motorcycles, he built a custom Harley that he entered into a contest and won with it. Woodworking was another one of his big passions. When I was growing up, this whole garage was a fully equipped woodworking shop. He had a precision table saw, a joiner, planer, router, bandsaw, scroll saw, wood lathe, dust collection system. He would turn out pens, wooden bowls, baseball bats, dressers, bookshelves, cigar humidifiers. Remote controlled cars and planes were another thing he really got into. In my high school years, we got into playing paintball together, and him and my younger brother would enter into some local three-man tournaments together. This is Dad's Colt Commander, and it's the first centerfire pistol that I had experience shooting with. The longest profession my dad had while he was raising our family with my mom was a demolition contractor. My dad was chief estimator for some of the largest demolition firms in the Midwest. He was so good at that job that headhunters from other companies would come track him down and make him offers to join up with their company and estimate for their company. If you're not familiar at all with construction or demolition contracting, the way that business works is when you establish your company, you are invited to bid on a job. Let's say you've got an old Sports Authority building. Sports Authority goes out of business. Someone else wants to come in, turn the building into something else. So, your company, the estimator of your company, would do a walkthrough of that building. He would review construction documents, and he would submit a bid for the cost of that company to complete the job. And that's pretty much what estimating is. He would do that for some 30 years, while up until I graduated high school. And right around 2010, him and my brother would start their own demolition contracting business, and my dad would leave those businesses that he worked for. From 2011 to 13, I was in Colorado at the Colorado School of Trades earning my gunsmithing degree. And when I got back, I worked for our demolition company, saving money so I could invest into this company, this gunsmithing company that I've built. So, this one time, and this would have been in probably the mid to late 80s, my dad supposedly had bought this in 1980-ish. This one time, my dad was helping direct a hydraulic crane down a one-way street in the shittiest neighborhood in the south side of Chicago. And it's early morning, probably 4, 5, 6 in the morning, and the operator of this crane drives it along the sides of about half a dozen vehicles parked on the side of the road and tears the doors right off of them. Everyone wakes up, the alarms are going off on these cars, the cops show up, and they separate everyone and start asking questions. And my dad has this Colt Commander stuffed into his waistband. So this cop has, mind you, this license concealed carry was not passed until 2014. So my dad's got this thing in his waistband, and the cop has him separated from everybody. And this thing falls down his pant leg and spills out into the street between him and this cop. My dad looks down at the gun, looks back up at the cop looks back down at the gun, and looks back up at my dad, and he goes, "I'm just going to pretend I didn't see that." True story. Now, there's a couple of lessons to be learned here. Number one is bring your gun everywhere. And number two is have a quality holster system for your gun. I don't review holsters of any kind. No one sends me holsters to review. What I'm going to show you is what I've come to use regularly based on my experience with 10 years of carrying my gun everywhere I go. When I introduce people to concealed carry, one of the biggest things they're concerned about is the gun getting away from them and the gun going off in the holster. Bringing the gun in and out of the holster is the most common ways for the gun to go bang when you don't want it to. So when people come to me to learn about concealed carry, what I go over them to help alleviate that anxiety is we take the unloaded firearm and the holster it's paired with, and we want to see, we're going to try and dry fire the gun in the holster. I want people to see what it takes for that trigger, for something to get into that trigger and pull it to make it go off. This is Raven Morgan. What I'm going to do is just I'm going to try to get my finger in there. And if it won't let me, I'm going to try even harder. I cannot get my finger in there. I can't even get it in there. I can't even spread the Kydex enough to get my finger in there. Let's talk about another holster system I really like. This is a Unity clutch. I keep my J-frame in here. I've shown you guys this before. Each of these little panels has Velcro on the inside of it. And I have a small Kydex trigger guard with Velcro on it that sticks right in there. I'm going to unload and try the same thing. I want to try and see if I can get my finger into that trigger guard and dry fire it. It's important for you to understand what it takes for that to happen, to build confidence so that you know this thing is not going to go off in your holster system when you're driving down the road or walking down the street or anything. Again, this one protects the trigger very well, and there's no way I can get my trigger finger in there. And when Velcro is attached in place, I still cannot get anything in there. Another system I do like is shoulder holsters. Shoulder holsters are very safe and efficient. This is a cheap one. Now, this SIG 226 with its double action pull alleviates a lot of the concern with pulling the trigger inside of the holster. And because of the way it's carried on the shoulder, it's very unlikely for something to get horizontally in there and then pull backwards to get the trigger activated. Now, as far as how cheap this holster is, it works. But when we go to do our test, I can definitely pull the trigger. The only thing stopping the trigger from being pulled is the strap across the hammer. What does a really good shoulder holster look like? This is a custom made holster for a Glock 18 and Surefire Light. Again, we're going to come into the trigger guard and try to activate it. I can't even get my finger past that leather. The other thing you want to look for is retention to keep this thing from getting away from you. What is enough retention? What's too much retention? If the gun falls out of its holster, it doesn't have enough retention. That's pretty much it. It's going to kind of vary from person to person. You can see there's not a lot of retention in here, but I conceal it very well. And it doesn't just freely fall out. Those are the things I look for and help people with to gain confidence when they're looking for a concealed carry rig for everyday carry. So, just what the hell am I doing with this channel, and what are my plans going forward? Well, I'm going to keep focusing on custom gunsmithing content and build my shop reputation and gain business with gunsmithing content. I'll also be starting to regularly upload watercolor and shooting content, which is just going to be me drawing and fire from concealment, and maybe a little bit of Tarkov to fill in between working on gunsmithing activities. I've got some other opinions on the recent Tarkov developments. Maybe it'll be another video coming up. I do have a Colt letter on the way for this. I'll probably do a video going over the Colt letters. As soon as that comes, I paid to have it expedited. So we'll see how that goes, and I'll talk to you guys about the process of obtaining a Colt letter. Anyway, thanks for sticking around, you guys. Thanks for the likes and the subs. I don't particularly care about that little number, but it is pretty cool to see that little subscription number keep going up, even though I take months at a time off from uploading content. So hopefully we'll be changing that, and I'll get back on the upload schedule. And that's really all I got for you guys right now. Thanks for the likes, thanks for the subs, and thanks for sticking around, you guys. And thanks for everything you've given us, Dad. Thanks for everything. I love you.